More than a week now has passed since the Iranian government abruptly cut off internet access for most of the country's population there. By the way, it's a population of some 90 million. And of course, cutting off the internet was an attempt to suppress the widespread protests that were taking place there and in fact spreading across the country since the end of December. But as a result, it's been difficult to actually gauge the exact situation in the Islamic Republic, and it's very difficult to separate the lies from truth. And according at least to some of the latest accounts that supposedly have been based upon witnesses there, or at least individuals who were in touch with witnesses, the scale of the protests noticeably declined since Sunday. Although, on the other hand, there certainly remains a heavy military and security presence in different areas across the country. So how much of all this reporting can we trust? Well, joining me now to discuss this and more is Dr. David Adesnik. He's the Vice President of Research at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. And for 2 years, he served as Deputy Director for Joint Data Support at the U.S. Department of Defense. And while there, he focused on modeling and simulation of irregular warfare and counterinsurgency. Dr. Adesnik, welcome back to Washington Watch. Always an honor to have you.
Thank you so much. It brings back memories to hear about those Pentagon days.
Well, we appreciate what all you did and what you continue doing right now. Let's just start with that. What do you make of the reporting that we're hearing right now? How much of it is true? How much is false?
Well, I mean, part of the whole purpose of shutting down the internet and cutting us off from the people of Iran is to make it impossible to know what's true and what's false. It's a tactic to create a screen behind which the regime can gun down its own citizens. I think it's broadly accurate that there has been a diminution in the intensity of protests, but a lot of things are only going to become clear over the next few days or perhaps longer.
So what are you hearing? I mean, you've got ears on the ground and places, ways to get information. What are you hearing right now?
Well, I think some people were definitely hoping for a more forceful American role. They obviously heard President Trump draw a red line and say that if the regime started killing its own people, America would act decisively. And then there seems to be some hesitation on that part in Washington. There seems to be indications that perhaps we didn't have enough forces immediately in the region at the time, or for other reasons that made it complicated. And to some degree, without that encouragement, people may not have decided they wanted to keep going and absorbing the kind of punishment the regime was giving them.
So as you've been monitoring this and keeping a pulse on for a long time, how do these protests that are taking place now compare with past protests that we've seen?
Well, this Islamist dictatorship has been in power for 47 years. There's never been protests this widespread, bringing in such entire swaths of the country. They're in every province, all 31 provinces. They're in reportedly 185 different cities, just bringing out people like never before. We've seen protests every few years, major ones, and these are still taking it up another notch.
Well, I've heard others say what you just said, too, that this seems different from a protest we've seen there in the past. I want to play a clip for you and get your reaction to this. This took place earlier today at a press conference that was held by the exiled son of the last Iranian Shah. And here's what he had to say about the situation from his perspective. Play clip 1 for me.
Despite the lies you're hearing from the regime, its bloodlust has not diminished. The slaughter has not stopped. My brave compatriots, still holding the line with their broken bodies but unbreakable will, need your urgent help right now. Make no mistake, however, the Islamic Republic is close to collapse.
Close to collapse. I'd like to get your reaction to that comment he made.
Well, I hope so. This regime has been killing its own people, sponsoring terrorism, killing Americans for decades. It's very hard to say these revolutions. We've seen many of them across this region, especially in 2011 and the Arab Spring. We've seen them in other parts of the world. And until the final critical moments, you don't really know if the dictatorship will hold on or the people will manage to liberate themselves.
And I guess that's going to continue to be difficult for us to monitor with the internet access and limited information that we're able to get from there. Certainly, there will be new ways for people to find ways to communicate, don't you think?
Yeah, and I think, and there'll also be a response from the regime. There'd been some hope that things like Starlink terminals could help. It seems like they may be finding ways to disrupt those as well. I mean, there's a constant race. If you remember back when the people of China rose up in 1989, they were often relying on fax machines, which we thought were a novel new technology to help protesters get their views out. So, it's a cat and mouse game. Each leap forward helps. It'll be different forms of texting, different forms of encryption. And we hope we can stay one step ahead and maybe even find ways America can help people overseas.
So based on what we do know, let's go back to that. How could this situation in Iran affect the Middle East as a whole, including Israel?
Well, it's important to understand that Iran is the key driver, the key sort of, in some ways, puppet master of what they call the axis of resistance, right? Israel's been fighting a war that was on as many as 7 fronts at one time. Hamas gets major support from Iran. Hezbollah gets major support from Iran. The Houthis in Yemen get support from Iran. Militias in Iraq get support from Iran. The Assad regime, which killed hundreds of thousands of people, it ultimately fell, but it was a client of Iran. Iran is the one driving this entire group of regimes and terror groups across the region. There are some outside of its reach, right? It may partner with Al-Qaeda and the others. I'm not saying it drives every last America-hating terrorist group. The point is, many, many of them are being bankrolled, supported, trained by Iran.
We don't have time to go into this last question, so just a general, very brief bird's eye view. What do you make of the U.S. response to this situation so far? Are we doing the right things?
Well, I think a lot may still be undecided. We have a president who sees the strategic value of being unpredictable, and it remains so. We don't know if he'll do a 180-degree turn at the last moment, but there's certainly fears that, President Obama declared a red line on using chemical weapons in Syria. He didn't hold it. Is Trump going to hold his?
We don't know. Stop it right there. Dr. David Adesnik, Vice President of Research at Foundation for Defense of Democracies, thank you so much.